Welcome to the English with Kirsty podcast from www.englishwithkirsty.com. Here I'll be sharing with you tips, information and other learning resources so that you can improve your business English.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the English with Kirsty podcast. And today we have a guest episode, and it's my Kirsty Gets to Know New People on LinkedIn series, which I have been doing for the last couple of years and will be continuing, because I'm meeting so many people with interesting stories and backgrounds and perspectives on language and language-related topics that I think it's really good to explore some of those with my new LinkedIn contacts. And so that's what we're doing today. So welcome, Graciela. Nice to have you here on the podcast.
Hi, Kirsty. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Maybe we can start by finding out a bit more about you. So where did your story with languages start, and what are you doing now?
Okay, well, my story starts because I'm a certified public translator based in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I work between English and Spanish. I can also communicate in French, and I'm brave enough to survive the very first few seconds in a conversation in German. I spend my days working with documents that usually appear at very important moments in people's lives, when moving to another country, when studying abroad, when navigating a legal process in a language that isn't their own. So what I've learned from this work is that communication in these situations is never just technical. It's about tone, it's about cultural expectations, it's helping people sound clear and confident within very formal systems, and often when emotions are running high. So through translating official texts, I've had a frontal view of how English works when documents shape someone's future, and when finding the right professional voice really, really matters.
Okay, and why did you decide to choose this area? So of all the things that you could have done as a translator, why did you focus specifically on this area?
Well, that's a great question, because it wasn't something that I planned from the beginning. It actually started very, very naturally through the kind of documents that people kept bringing to me. I realized quite early on that I wasn't just translating words. I was translating moments in people's lives. So that is how it all started, very, very organically, let's say.
And you realized you liked it, I guess. It's a lot of responsibility, isn't it? Some of these situations are life-changing events. So I understand from what we were talking about before we started recording that it's more of like a consultancy service as well, because you don't only translate the documents that you're given, but you give some advice and you help the people to phrase the text in a more appropriate way. So how does that work?
Well, actually, you find that people don't usually come to a certified translator on a calm day. They're often anxious, they are facing deadlines, or they are afraid of getting something wrong. So first of all, even though I work with texts and maybe not conversations, emotions are always present. And that's why you have ethical responsibility and empathy. You find that they are just as important as technical skills, because you are not just translating a document, you're helping someone move forward at a very sensitive moment. So what I do mostly with people is, first of all, talk to them, ask them. It's very, very important to ask, to calm them down at that moment, because when stakes are very high, people don't tend to be clear. They just want you to understand fully, entirely, okay, I got this situation, help me. And then that's when you enter, and that's when you are a translator, you bridge not just words, you bridge cultures. And that is that cultural awareness is that what you put into your work when you start talking to your clients. And I found that because I only work with written texts, structure plays a very similar role to tone in spoken language. For instance, I once received a set of documents that were very accurate in English, and terminology was fine and nothing was technically wrong, but the way the information was organized didn't match what the legal system on the other side was expecting. So I realized that in writing, structure, as I say, is what tone is to the voice, because it signals seriousness, credibility, respect for the institution you're addressing. So I didn't change the message. What I changed is how the information appeared on the page, order, formatting, level of formality. And that just made all the difference because suddenly that document sounded right for the system that it was entering. So it's very, very challenging and very satisfying as well.
And these would be people that probably aren't familiar with the systems, that they don't know, they haven't done it before. These are usually things that you only do once, hopefully, because I understand some of them can be quite expensive and some things you only get one chance. So I guess they are not really aware of what they need.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Most of the documents I work with show up when something important is changing. And as you say, they are usually documents that people only deal with only once or twice in their lives. But what I'm aware of is that the consequences are huge. So it's a work that you just meet your client once or twice, same as with their documents, but you remember them and they remember you for life. You were that bridge that brought their future closer.
And if it was a positive experience, if everything goes well, which we hope it does, then that's also really good marketing for you, because the best type of marketing is referrals and happy customers. And if they have friends who are in a similar situation, then they can tell their friends. And
Yeah, definitely. But that's a challenging part of this job because, as we've just said, you only meet them once or twice. Maybe it's for only one member of the family or the full family. But then you have groups of expats all over the world. And well, humanity has always moved. So people always need you. People always need that person that is helping them transition and insert them into other countries. So it's very challenging because you have that one chance to do it right. And well, that's exciting as well.
yeah, and you learn, I guess, with each new experience. But I'm not talking about individual cases, but how often do you find out what actually happened? Do people come back to you and say, "Oh, great news! This, it was approved," or like, "Thank you," or do you ever find out what happens, or do you just send the documents on their way and hope that they achieve what they were sent out to?
You have a 50-50. 50% of the clients that send you a very sweet message saying, I'm already in, and they insert any country you like. And then there are other people, and I fully understand them, that you don't get any news or any message from them. You assume that everything went well because they didn't come back with any complaint. And that's a good point of awareness. Okay, everything went well. But then I said that I understood them because they are in, I don't know, a turmoil of emotions, paperwork, and things going on in their lives. So it's okay if everything went well. it's okay, I'm not contacting you. Some people even say, I don't want to bother you. And
Okay.
okay, come on, you're not bothering me. You're 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 beyond my client, because it comes to a point that when you really show empathy in a relation, and then it's more than a client. It's another human being you're helping with their future. So it's so nice to know that your work has been valuable in another people's life. That is great.
Yeah, it feels like the job satisfaction. Obviously, we work because we need to work and we need to earn, but it's also nice when you feel that you've done something that's helped someone and that you were there for them in a way when they needed someone with the skills that you have.
Mm.
And I guess some of that comes through the training that you have, some of it comes through experience, but how do you stay up to date or educate yourself about the different cultures that you're working with and what's appropriate and if there are any changes? Like, how do you stay up to date with all
Mm.
the latest information?
Yeah, well, that is very personal, and that is a very individual path, because you have to see which countries your clients mostly move to, and then you search those government pages, and you stay up to date with lawyers in, for instance, in immigration, and you go to their congresses, and you attend different courses. People in immigration is very, how could I say it? They share their expertise. They like to share their
Okay,
expertise.
good.
And when doing so, you learn a lot. And not to replace them, not to compete with them, but to help migrants, and to help your clients. Of course, I'm not a lawyer in immigration, but I can, with that knowledge that I get from lawyers, I can calm down people. I can help them to know the following steps, and to give them structure. Okay, I'm going to give you the translations, and then you will be able to do this and that, and you can expect a delay of that sort of things. And by just meeting people in the field that you're working with, maybe not directly related to translation, because it's not always terminology what you need to uh, reinforce. You need to be also aware of the industry, what they are doing, what they are up to, and migration rules change almost every day. It's incredible, because as government changes, policies changes, and well, you have to be almost the news, for instance, is another good source of very fresh information, because
Okay,
you
yeah.
learn something in the news, and then you, okay, go deeper. As a translator, you're trained to investigate, to research, and when you learn something in the news, and then, okay, what this politician said, what this government is trying to achieve, okay, I'll see into the government web page if there is something already done, if they are up to something, a new law, or something that might affect the client's intentions or plans.
So you've got researching, you've got people skills because you have all the communication with the clients, and then you have the writing the documents itself. How do you keep the balance? So you have to work within the structures that exist and the way that the document needs to be, but you also have some very personal and sensitive and the information you're receiving information which is quite people are quite emotional at the time. So how do you get this balance between saying the right things, but also saying enough to give a full picture of the situation that's going on?
I guess that definitely comes with experience because you make some mistakes at the very beginning, and what you have to see first is what I do is to understand the person on the other side. I get the full picture. I get what they're up to, what their plans, what they're intending. Sometimes people say, "You're asking too many questions" at the very beginning. And then I explain because I need to understand to help you. It's that work first. And then once I understand their situation, okay, I go back to myself and I say, okay, what is this person's personality? What does he or she need? Is just the documents, because of course there are some people that say, okay, you may sound professional and friendly, but I just want the translation done and that's it. And so you have to really understand that those signals in their communications. And then you just, from their situation, you move on with your work. But always going back to what they said, going back to their information, going back to their input. And that's
because
how
it's their
balance.
voice, isn't it? It's whatever you have to represent them. You have to use their words, but in the other language, obviously. But you have to fairly represent them because they're the client, and it's their documents, their letter.
Yes,
So
exactly.
knowing what's required from a legal point of view, but also being fair to them in the way that you portray them in the documents.
Exactly, exactly. One example of that is when they send me their CVs. Sometimes they send me their CVs for revision or complete translation. They send me, for instance, in Spanish, and they ask me to translate them into English. Okay, that's one word, no problem. But when they send their CVs in English for me to revise, that's where I see how they stand. They are standing it for their future. I see, okay, they are going too formal. They are going too formal in Spanish, and they are carrying the Spanish formality into English. And that's not what the English formality requires. So what I do when revising that is to mark in bullet points what I've seen, what I've they're not mistakes, but they are corrections to the tone, corrections to the structure. And then I go back to them and I say, okay, I've revised your CV, and you have to be aware of these points, because this is not what, for instance, in English work culture is acceptable. So you should reframe it to this, you should reframe it to that, and then work with them in finding their voice. Because sometimes when going into English, what they do is overdo it. They want to sound extra formal, and they lose clarity. And in doing so, they lose clarity and they lose confidence in that path. So that's what I do. I go back to them and explain the differences. Mostly they are cultural differences, because as I said, structure in a written text is the tone of a spoken language. So that is what I try to make them aware of. And it works. It works. it so far.
Yeah, and I like that it's a learning opportunity. It's not like, oh, here's your CV. I've modified it. Like, good luck getting a job. It's showing people what they did or what could be better and different. And also, like, an English CV isn't an English CV. I know what's generally required here, but I don't know how that would look in the US, for example. Each country is going to have its own slightly different requirements or expectations, or even like between the different sectors, what a CV for one sector should look like is going to be different. So there's a lot to learn, and there things are always changing as well. Maybe not at the same speed as some of the immigration legislation, but you know, things do change. Language changes, expectations do as well. And yeah, it gives them the opportunity to learn from, because I think that's the best kind of feedback, not just what is the feedback, but how can you actually learn something, and what is different, and why, the reasoning behind some of the suggestions, because then they still have the final decision about which ones they implement.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who were maybe studying or maybe thinking about a career change, who would like to do this kind of work? Do you have any advice that you could offer them?
Well, yes, do it. Come. Do it and come. Be brave. Yes. You know, nowadays, translators and interpreters are very, very challenged because of AI. And for this type of professions, you have to be very aware where our voice is needed, especially when stakes are high. Because yes, AI might replace some translations and some interpreters' work, but not when stakes are high, not when responsibility matters. Not when, for instance, in my field, which is migration, you need a person who is responsible for the outcome. You need a signature, you need a stamp, someone who says, this is certified by a person, by a translator, a professional translator. So it's not just migration, there are many other fields, for instance, medicine, or very technical fields also need the precision of a person and the responsibility of a person, of a human being. So yes, don't be afraid to choose our career, our profession, because it's beautiful, it's very rewarding, and yes, you will find yourself in the middle of people's lives, even though it's not migration itself, as I said, when they ask, they call you because they need someone to help them. I guess that is the most rewarding position in which you could be in your life. And it's the most rewarding job you can do, definitely. It's very nice. It's very exciting as well. Because in the end, they might not come back to you to say, okay, everything went well, as we were saying before, but you know that you help that person with their plans, with their future. And that is great, because that goes beyond work, that goes beyond typing, beyond researching, beyond investigating. That touches you at a human level, and that is absolutely great. And I don't know many other jobs that can do that as well. So yes, come.
Well, if that was an advert for immigration translation, it shows that you really like your job, really enjoy your work. I think by the sounds of it, what you're doing, you really need to be a people person as well. So to enjoy that contact with people, as well as the contact with the documents and working on a more technical level, but you also need to have that empathy and interest in people as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a really nice place to finish on, because such a positive note about what the work that you're doing. Where can people find you? Where do you spend time on social media or?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, Graciela Darritchon, my full name. And also I have a webpage. It's GD Traducciones in Spanish. But you can Google me and you will find me for sure.
Yeah, we'll put both of the links on the page for our episode, and then you're on LinkedIn as well, because I found you there. That's how we first got in touch. So thank you for that. This is something we haven't covered in the podcast before, this type of work. So thank you for giving us an insight into what you do and how it works, and the kind of things that you've had to be aware of as you're developing in this area. And yeah, maybe it's made it more interesting for some other people who are listening to investigate if that's something they would like to do in the future. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, have a great day.
Thank you, Kirsty. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, me too.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the English with Kirsty podcast. If you have any questions or comments, my email address is kirsty@englishwithkirsty.com, or you can go to www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast, where you'll find information about the individual episodes.